Pokemon is a franchise that has grossed $95 billion. Thanks to this insane popularity, the Pokemon franchise has had its fair share of side games and spin-offs. Some are really good, some, well, not so much. Today we will take a look at the spin-off games that perhaps haven't received the love they deserve and should definitely receive another title. First up is a staple of everyone's Nintendo 64 collection, Pokemon Stadium. Pokemon Stadium first released in Japan on August 1st, 1998. This would prove to be more of a proof of concept for the format. The game only had 42 Pokemon and featured just 2 tournaments. The success of this caused them to create a more refined version of the game for the rest of the world. This was titled Pokemon Stadium 2 in Japan, but just Pokemon Stadium everywhere else. This had much more content than the original, allowing for all 151 Pokemon to be used, as well as 4 tournaments, and most impressively, the Generation 1 games could be emulated on it. Following on from that, they released a third game called Pokemon Stadium 2 in the rest of the world, but in Japan it was called... That did not help. This was a lot like the second game. It had 4 cups and the majority of Pokemon were once again available. It also had minigames and the ability to emulate the first 2 generation titles. The series took a bit of a hiatus before somewhat returning with Pokemon Battle Revolution on the Nintendo Wii. It lacked a lot of the charm of the Stadium games and was very bare bones. It sold poorly and the franchise just seemed to die out. I would love to see it reborn, however a lot of the appeal was seeing the Pokemon fighting in 3D, which is kind of standard place now with the Nintendo Switch. That being said, a new game that takes away the RPG elements and focuses purely on fighting could solve a lot of the issues that fans have at the moment with Sword and Shield. The poor battle animations and 3D sprite quality is down to the fact they spend a lot of the time creating the world of the games. Taking that obstacle away and allowing them to focus on just making battles fun and look pretty, as well as adding back the minigames, could see the series return to its former glory. Now this is the point in the video where I tell you that 90% of you aren't subscribed. That's a very high number, it makes me cry at night, so please fix that. The next game to check out is the Pokemon trading card game. Now if you were anything like me as a kid, you pestered your parents into buying you hundreds of Pokemon packs. Despite having no intention of actually playing the games, it's just because you like the pretty pictures. Thanks to the Pokemon trading card game on Game Boy Color, I actually did learn how to play the game. The game was an RPG that worked in a similar vein to the main titles. You picked a starter, went around battling other trainers. Is that what people are called, walk around Pokemon cards? Trainers? I don't know. Anyway, once you won, you got a prize pack that gave you more cards for your deck. The game had clubs, which are equivalent to gyms in the main game series, and being all of them granted access to face the 4 Grandmasters and the Champion, which once again are equivalent to the Elite Four and Champion of the main games. A sequel was made. This was released only in Japan though, and it was called... For fuck's sake. This came out in 2001, and that was the last time we heard of this series. It's surprising as Pokemon cards, while not as popular as they once were, are still amongst the most popular card collectibles, and the Pokemon Company still holds official tournaments every year. With the franchise being so driven by merchandise sales, it's a shock to see the franchise haven't tried to get more users hooked on the cards. It's even more surprising when you look at the success cards games have had recently, such as Hearthstone, Gwen and Eternal. The third game to look at is the Pokemon Ranger titles. In Pokemon Ranger, you, well, play as a Pokemon Ranger. The gameplay consisted of drawing circles very quickly around the Pokemon. It was a lot more fun than it sounds, I promise. The game itself was an RPG and had a solid enough story for a spin-off title. They actually made 3 of these games, the first being released in 2006 with the last in 2010. Perhaps it was this rapid succession in which they released them that caused the fans to get burned out. That being said, all the games sold and reviewed very well, so it's a shock to see they haven't done another title in over a decade after releasing 3 in the space of 4 years. They did however re-release all 3 titles on the Wii U Virtual Console, so I'm sure all 5 Wii Uners were excited about that. The final game for this video is going to be what I call the Shadow series. This consisted of Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. I call it the Shadow series as the whole plot of the 2 games revolves around the fact that Pokemon have been turned into Shadow Pokemon. Shadow Pokemon is essentially a Pokemon that has been turned evil. The plot of the 2 games is that you play as a former evil team member and you go around battling and stealing the evil Pokemon to purify them. The games were RPGs, and until Sword and Shield, they were the only fully 3D Pokemon RPG titles. Both of these games are considered to be amongst the best Pokemon games of all time, and a third title in a similar vein would surely go down very well. The Pokemon Company did recently make reference to these games with the inclusion of Shadow Pokemon in Pokemon Go, a move which was met with great response by the fans, and hopefully they see that and make this into a trilogy of games. Now that is the end of the video, but before I go I do want to also mention Pokemon Conquest. It wasn't a game I actually ever played, it's the only Pokemon game I haven't played, but it was reviewed very highly and fans seem to love it, so I'm sure they could make a second one and people would be happy. Now if you did like this video, do remember to like, comment and subscribe, as every time you do it's a massive help to me, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.